Marriage as a covenant. Unlike a contract, which binds the couple to the law and upon the agreed terms, a covenant entails a deeper layer of trust, love, and consent between the couple. This covenant between husband and wife mirrors the covenant God made with His people. Etymology of the word covenant. In Latin, convenire testamentum means to come together, unite, be suitable, agree, to witness or testify. In Greek, diatheke was a common technical word used in the Greco-Roman law to describe the settlement of an inheritance and used in the New Testament to describe the self-commitment, promises, and conditions by which God entered into relationship with man. In Hebrew, berit describes a compact made by passing between pieces of flesh. Rooted in the notion of covenant is Jeremiah chapter 2 verse 2 and chapter 3 verse 20 saying, I remember your faithful love, the affection of your bridal days, when you followed me through the desert, through a land unsown. Covenant is a solemn, binding arrangement between two parties and entails a variety of responsibilities, benefits, and penalties depending on the specific covenant which is being studied. Covenant is meant to last a lifetime.
Marriage is a holy covenant between a man and a woman and their God for a lifetime. In the Old Testament days, when two people entered a covenant with one another, a goat or lamb would be slain and its carcass would be cut in the half. With the two halves separated and lying on the ground, the two people who had formed the covenant would solemnize their promise by walking between the two halves saying, May God do so to me if I ever break this covenant with you and God. Marriage is a covenant and not simply a contract. In a covenant, parties come together to make a sacrificial, permanent bond which is sustained and nurtured by the commitment of both parties. Covenant is motivated by sacrifice and love, I am yours and you are mine, while contract is motivated by self-interest, this is yours and this is mine. In contract, there is an exchange of goods and services, while in covenant, there is the exchange of persons in communion. In the marital covenant, both are asked to sacrificially love one another till the day they die. In a marital contract, one's rights are protected and limits responsibilities, while in marital covenant, one sacrifices his or her rights and assumes responsibility. A covenant is initiated by God for the good of humanity. God, who is love, authored marriage and bound himself to us by the sacred bond of interpersonal love. Marriage is a covenant because it signifies God's loving and faithful presence since the time of creation until the time we commit to a relationship with another person.
Let us expand on what was said earlier about God's loving and faithful presence, so to speak. This marriage between Yahweh and Israel represents God as the compassionate and patient husband who loves his wife even in times of great conflict and aggravation. There's already some marital symbolism here, husband and wife who love each other. He maintains his steadfastness in his covenant with his people despite their many flaws and abuses. So God loves us like how a husband must love his wife. Despite of the flaws, the transgressions against him, he still loves us purely. It is unconditional love in marriage. In John Paul II's letter to families, it is said that the primordial model of the family is to be sought in God himself, in the Trinitarian mystery of his life. The divine we is the eternal pattern of the human we. It is an image and living sign of the covenant relationship between God and his people. The Old Testament uses the image of marital love to reveal the relationship binding God and his people. In the New Testament, the sacramental marriage of Christians signifies the love uniting Christ and his church. And this ends our video on the theological understanding of marriage as a covenant.